Hey everyone, I'm Spencer.
I'm Lara, and we're married with board games. The animal kingdom can be a brutal place, what with all of the prowling and hunting and devouring.
And oddly enough, the same can be said about a human kingdom too. Sometimes you just never know what's going on in the mind of a king, or a bishop, or abbot. And so when you mash up those two worlds, you get Brutal Kingdom, a 3 to 4 player from KOSMOS.
So how does this game of deduction and intrigue play out? Let's head over to the table for a quick look before we share our thoughts.
In Brutal Kingdom, as with many games, the goal at the end of the game is to have the most points. Each round you'll be playing down 4 character cards, and some of those character cards will eliminate other characters, and at the end of each what's called a chapter, some of the characters you have left remaining in front of you will score a certain number of these tokens up there. You'll also get a token whenever you eliminate or execute, or whatever word you want to use, another character. At the end of the game, for each one of the corresponding tokens that's left in the pool, that's how many each one is worth. So for example, if there are only 5 of these left in the pool, each single one of these tokens that you had are worth 5 points. I'm going to start by showing you the different character cards. First, I'll start with the light-backed cards. We have different cards like the Witch, and they all have an ability on them. The Witch may look at the hand of cards of any one other player. White Knight, you may swap a card from your hand with any card the same color of the middle of the table. You can see the Bishop has no effect, and so on and so forth. Poisoner eliminates the Bishop or the Abbot. I mentioned those points. So up here, the Queen, at the end of the chapter, you will get one of these tokens if she is still remaining in front of you. Some other symbols you might see are these right here. So this means that she can actually assassinate somebody, and this means that she can actually be the target of somebody. So those are some handy symbols that you might see on the cards. At the top of each card, there is a number. At the end of each round, whoever has a number that's the highest, that's on top of their stack of cards that they've played, will begin that round. So those numbers are important as well. At the beginning of the game, through some specific rules, a player will end up with 2 light-backed cards and 2 dark-backed cards. Everybody will go around the table, and essentially you'll decide what order you're going to be playing your cards in. So for example, I'm going to put down the Poisoner first, and then the next turn I might put down the Queen, and then so on and so forth. You keep going until everybody's played down 4 cards. However, you have to be strategic about the way you put them down, because if your character that's on top is eliminated, every character underneath them is eliminated as well. So for example, the King can eliminate the Queen if she's already out on the table and she's on the top. So the King comes out and the Queen's eliminated, she will get flipped over, and so will the Poisoner. And then that means at the end of the round, I will not get any tokens for those cards because they're face down. If I have these 2 left on top, those still count, but neither of them directly give me tokens. So again, you have to be strategic about the order in which you play your cards. After 4 rounds, the game is over. You'll calculate points based on, again, the tokens that you have of all types, and whoever has the highest amount wins. The chapel serves as a way to keep track of the rounds, but also it's a way to kind of protect these symbols. So each round someone will have the distinction of putting one of those tokens on the chapel, and that is a way to kind of keep those tokens left at the end of the game in order to increase the value of points that those tokens are worth. There's also the starting player card. This helps keep track of who starts the round. And then there are some helpful player aids. This one tells you the characters that are in the game, what their numbers are, and what symbols they have. And then this one tells you who can assassinate who.
All right, now that Spencer has gone through with you what all of the different parts of the game look like, let's discuss.
Let's discuss.
So, first off, I mean, you can tell this is going to be animals in the roles of humans.
Basically, yeah.
What do you think of that concept?
You see that a lot. I mean, it's not anything new, right? You see the anthropomorphic, is that the word?
I think so.
Of we've reviewed Sherlock Holmes, so it's cats as Sherlock, and so it's not anything new. But I think it really works with the theme of the game. It's kind of like the animal kingdom, as we mentioned in the introduction, where the animal kingdom can be a brutal place. Well, back in the medieval times, which this is kind of depicting, it was a brutal place. So I think it really is an interesting mashup of those two things.
And kingdom, there's royalty, and then also
the animal kingdom. Yeah, it's a great concept. I do enjoy it, and it works in the game.
Right, and so with that, the execution of portraying these animals in these human roles.
Yeah.
Do you think they pulled it off?
I do. I really do, and I think it's there can be that tendency with that bringing in animals to think animals are cute, but I don't think this goes too far down that cute route, right?
Oh no, not at all.
I think it does a good job.
The only one that was cute is the White Knight. I love the White Knight.
Well, the White Knight, and also what was the one? Was it the Badger that is the friar? And has like the ball.
No, that's a fox. He's an abbot.
Abbot, that's right, and he's got like the bald spot. Yeah, but again, it's not done. It's like cheese. It's very I wouldn't say realistic because, again, it's animals playing humans, but it's not cutesy. I think it does a good job of staying with what the game is. It represents the type of game that this is.
Right. Honestly, I mean, off the top of my head, I didn't actually think about this before I say it right now. These are all predators, right?
I think
the animals portrayed?
Yeah.
I believe the majority of them are predators. I can't remember what animal the saint is off the top of my head. That might be the only exception.
You got a praying mantis?
A mantis. Well, this is a
vulture?
Scavenger. I don't know. It doesn't. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
These are things that are vicious.
And brutal.
Yeah.
I'm going to say brutal a lot in this review.
So I love the concept, and I love the way they executed it. I think the artwork is gorgeous. It's detailed, especially because we are portraying characters in the medieval era. The costuming and whatnot is intricate and detailed in here, and I think they did an excellent job of that.
Totally. So let's get into gameplay a little bit. This has some elements of deduction to it. It's not like a social deduction game, right? But there are elements of, okay, what roles do the other players have? I've got to deduce based on some of the ways that they're playing, based on what I have in my hand, based on what I've given them.
Well, also there are some, more importantly, there are some cards that you lay down that you have to be predicting what what your opponent is going to play.
Yeah.
Or even what is still in hand. I think the executioner possibly kills someone who's in hand.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like the queen and the king, they will only off the opposite as soon as they're laid down.
Which to me, it makes it not a typical deduction game. There are a lot of restrictions about who can eliminate who.
Yes.
It's not just, if I guess who your role is, then you're out. It's only a specific character can do that. And in many cases, it's only one specific character can only eliminate these specific characters. And I think that's interesting, which makes the deduction that much more difficult.
Well, and just in player order as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Like you were saying, that characters can only be killed off at a certain time in the game. So if I have a card and I know that you have the character that this card can get rid of.
You don't want to play it down yet.
I have to play it at just the right time. But if that character gets covered up by another card, then laying that down is going to be useless. I can't off your character.
Exactly. So the turn order messes things up.
Yes.
And also the order that the cards are played in have a huge effect on when you should play your cards. So it really is a different way of thinking. To me, it's unlike anything I've ever played before.
So then on top of that, at the end of your turn, you get the tokens. The worth of your tokens depends upon how many tokens have not been taken yet.
Yes.
At the end of the game. That's very different.
It is very different because you don't want to just go in and start taking all the points, because if you take all the points, they're worth less and less at the end of the game.
Or if you take them, you don't want other people taking them. So those are the people you want to get rid of.
Right.
So that adds a different kind of strategy than I've ever played with before.
It really does. And the more I talk about it, the more I want to get back in and play it again and explore some different strategies. But yeah, it's a different type of game, different way of thinking. And like you said, the points at the end of the game, I love that aspect to it.
But with that, you have to know that just because of the nature of this game, with that deduction, with those cards, this has to be played 3-player to 4-player.
Yeah.
You cannot go any less. You cannot go any more. Who knows, maybe in the future they can do an expansion and we could add an extra player, add some more cards in there. But until then, you have to do it 3 to 4 players.
Well, so some might see that as a hindrance, right? It's a very specific game group. You can't play 2-player like for us. You can't play a 5, whatever. But I think it has to be that way, though, for the game to work as well as it does.
It has to, and I think it's a generic enough number that as far as getting a game group or going to, a game night at an FLGS, you can scare up that many people to play a game. I don't think it's a horrible thing.
Right, exactly.
It's not a hindrance or anything, just know that ahead of time.
Yeah, and it definitely earns its name. That's also another thing you need to know. So you can be brutal to each other. So if that's not your style of game, stay away from this.
Yeah, this is it's cutthroat.
Yeah.
It is literally cutthroat. So you better know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
So that's why you came to watch our review, so you would know.
And into that, there's memory involved too. Passing cards around, you got to remember, I find that as soon as I pass a card over to the next player, as you do in the start of each chapter, I immediately forget what I just gave them. So,
I know, that's the strategy I try to go for with the executioner can knock off anybody. I try to just remember what I just gave y'all, and I'll just get rid of one of those.
Yeah. And I think for a final point that we want to discuss is the game time. It says 30 minutes on the box. I think it's very faithful to that. I don't think you'll be going over 30 minutes.
No.
So again, a great filler. This is perfect for if you have a large group game night and you've got a group of people playing a longer game. You finish your game. You can grab 2 other people, play this until that group finishes their game. So I think that this game has a lot going. This game has a lot going for it, is what I was trying to say.
Right.
And with that being said, for a game with deduction, betrayal, and intrigue that isn't a party-style game, check out Brutal Kingdom.
Many deduction games tend to be large group oriented and have a goofy atmosphere about them. And while there's a time and place for those, sometimes you just want a game where you can really buckle down and do some thinking and make well-informed decisions about how to take down your opponents and gain points.
Brutal Kingdom is one of those games. It really rewards planning, deduction, and strategic thinking. And with the point system, there's even a balance that has to be made about how many points you get. It's a fun game that we've really enjoyed playing. Just be aware of the limited player count and that it can be pretty brutal, as its name suggests.
Having said all of that, we give Brutal Kingdom an average rating of 7.5 and a seal of approval. Thanks so much for watching. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to keep up with the next games that we'll be reviewing.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.